Hi, I'm Becky Streepy from Glue and Glitter, and today I'm going to show you how to make 4 super easy, super delicious vegan dinners. One thing I hear from a lot of new vegans is that they struggle to come up with weeknight dinners. You know those evenings when you get home late and everyone's hungry and you just don't even have the brain space to look up a new recipe. And that makes sense, right? Before you went vegan, maybe you had like a handful of recipes that you would make on nights like that, and suddenly those recipes are off the menu. What do? These are 4 of the recipes that my family makes on nights like that. One thing you'll notice about these meals is that they're all bowl meals. There's one stew, and the rest of them are all a starch with protein and veggies layered on and then extra toppings on top of that. I love that bowl formula because it's perfect for busy weeknights, and you can use what you already have in the pantry and the fridge. So check your pantry and see what grains you have for your base, and then figure out your proteins. Do you have beans? Do you have tofu? Is there some frozen vegan meat in the freezer? And then layer on whatever veggies you've got, add a sauce, and you are ready to eat. These are 4 easy bowl meals that my family loves, and I think you're gonna find some inspiration for your own weeknight dinners. Let's get into it. The first recipe is a mashed potato bowl. It's quick and easy to make, and you can cook the tofu in the air fryer or in the oven. Start by pressing and dicing a block of extra firm tofu and sprinkle on some soy sauce and some garlic powder. And then you have options. You can either air fry it at 400 for 20 minutes, shaking once, or you can cook it on a baking sheet at 425 for 40 minutes. While the tofu is cooking, it's time to make the kale and corn and make the mashed potatoes. So let's start with those veggies. Heat some olive oil in a frying pan and add your kale and some frozen corn, and then sprinkle on even more garlic powder. Saute that up for just a few minutes and then sprinkle on seasoned rice vinegar. This little bit of acid, it's what makes the kale super delicious. My 6-year-old loves kale prepared this way. Saute the kale until it turns bright green and the corn is thawed, and then it's time to make your mashed potatoes. You can cook the potatoes however you like. Whatever method you use, just transfer those warm potatoes to a large bowl and add some vegan butter, and then use a potato masher to start the mashing process. Once the vegan butter is melted, it's time to add your unsweetened vegan milk and then mash a little bit more just to get things incorporated. At this point, I like to switch from mashing with a potato masher to using a fork so that you're still mashing a little bit, but you're also whipping the potatoes so they end up really light and fluffy. By now the tofu should be all done cooking, so you'll transfer your mashed potatoes and the veggies to your serving bowls and top it with a little bit of tofu and sprinkle on some green onions. This second recipe is one that we make almost every week when it's cold outside. It's a vegan chicken stew. You can make it in the Instant Pot like we're going to do in the video, but you can also make it on the stovetop. I've got stovetop directions on my website. Start by adding water to your Instant Pot and a couple of broth cubes. Then add some minced celery, a drained can of chickpeas, some raw cubed red potatoes, diced carrots, and frozen corn, and then some chicken-style seitan. Then it's time to spice things up with garlic powder, onion powder, and dried thyme. Put the lid on your Instant Pot and set it to sealing, and then cook at high pressure for 5 minutes, and then let it do a 10-minute natural release. When the natural release time is up, quick release the rest of the pressure, and then add baby spinach and stir that in. Depending on how cold your kitchen is, you might be able to use the residual heat of the stew to wilt the spinach, but if it's not wilting for you, you can hit the saute button on the front of your pot and that'll warm things back up and it'll melt the spinach more quickly. Just keep on stirring until it wilts down and turns bright green, and then it's time to serve. This ginger tofu sushi bowl is another weekly favorite in my house. I like how flexible it is, so if someone in your house doesn't like one of the topping ingredients, they can just leave it out of their bowl. Start by making the marinade for the tofu. Add some fresh ginger and fresh garlic to your blender, along with maple syrup, toasted sesame oil, soy sauce, and rice vinegar. and then just blend that up until it's a nice smooth mix. Pour the marinade over some cubed tofu and set it aside to marinate for 10 minutes. When the marinating time is up, just pour off that excess marinade. You don't want it too soupy in the bottom. As you can see, there's still a little marinade at the bottom of my bowl. You just don't want it sitting in like inches of soupy marinade because that's going to interfere with the cornstarch coating. Speaking of the cornstarch coating, sprinkle on some cornstarch or potato starch and then give that tofu a shake so it gets a nice even coating. That starch is going to give the tofu that crispy outside that we're going for. Then transfer the tofu to your air fryer basket or to a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. If you're air frying, you're going to cook it at 370 for 15 minutes, giving it a shake at about 8 minutes into cooking. If you're baking, bake it for 30 minutes. No need to even flip it. Dish that cooked rice up into your bowls and then add your toppings. I like to serve this with carrot sticks, cucumber slices, sliced avocado, and sliced up seaweed snacks. Add a little bit of pickled ginger if that's your thing. Then add the tofu to the bowl. Top it off with some cashews for crunch and some green onions. This last recipe is a chipotle lime veggie burrito bowl. We're gonna start by cooking the veggies, so heat some olive oil or broth if you prefer to broth fry, and then add some diced bell peppers. Then add some chopped red onion to the pan. Then season those veggies with a little bit of garlic powder and sea salt and a little bit of lime juice. Saute the veggies over medium heat for about 10 to 12 minutes until they start to soften and turn nice and fragrant. Now it's time to prepare the rice and beans. Start with cooked brown rice and some black beans. This is just a drained can of black beans. Toss in some cilantro, even more lime juice, and some sea salt and chipotle chili powder. And just toss that all together so that the flavors get evenly mixed. From there, you're ready to serve. Divide the beans and rice mixture between your bowls. Top them off with the cooked veggies, and then it's time to garnish. Serve these up with some shredded cabbage, sliced avocado, and your favorite salsa, and some chips on the side for dipping. I hope that this video has helped you come up with some weeknight dinner ideas of your own. If you have any questions that I didn't address in the video about any of the recipes or anything else, feel free to drop them below. I'm always happy to help. And don't forget to rate and subscribe. Happy cooking!